Okay, so last week we saw how labor levels work, and we started with pay policies. So, like I said, this is a bottom to top approach. We saw how pay codes work and how pay codes are set up. So let us start with our work rule building blocks. So all these items put together make a work rule building block. So what you can also use this work rule gets assigned to a payroll, and this is basically how we tell the system how to interpret a punch or a shift, a work shift, and how an employee gets. So it's not necessary we have to set all these options, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you the logic behind all this, like how we set up and what it does. And so we'll get started. So before this, so there are two things here: the punch round rule and the interval round rule. Have you worked with this before?
I mean,
Do
I
you know
have
how
understanding,
rounding
but
is
no, I
done?
haven't worked with. I don't know what is interval round rule. Punch round rules, I think I understand. It's more about people starting and say, we, like, if you start 5 minutes late, it's we still want to round it
Yeah.
to 8 or.
Okay. So you know the so you know the logic, right? How it's
I
oh,
mean, the
sorry, you
logic,
don't know the logic how it's rounded.
and if the requirement is given,
Okay. Okay.
what, but I don't know the interval. I mean, I don't know where interval is up break during the break time, the rounding during the break time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definition I know, but yes, I need to.
So consider a. Okay, fine. Okay. So consider a shift like this. Say 8:19 to 4:05 or 6. So it's a bit difficult to interpret it, right? Because we are used to doing calculations that are a rounded figure, like 8:15 to 4:15, 8 to 4, something like that. Uh, so that is one reason why we do rounding, and the second reason is employers might want their employees to understand the value of time, and they might want them to be on time. So say like you're working in your hospital, right? So there's a rule in your hospital saying that if the scheduled shift is between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and if an employee is coming at 8 2, I don't want the shift to be calculated from 8 to, I want it to be calculated from 8:15. So he's going to lose 15 minutes of his pay for that day. So uh, so uh, so that is one more reason why we do rounding. One second. Yeah. So how and also this rounding allows uh, rounding the punches allows payroll to be processed more easily, and this rounding is a part of the work rule building block, and this influences the amount of time the employee works, and it eventually affects the pay. So what basically happens is the round value divides 1 hour into equal increments of time. So and then the punch is then rounded to one of these increments. So in rounding we have two terms. One is called the round, and the next one is called the grace. So like I said, we have so consider a shift like this, say 8:09 a.m. to 4:21 p.m. and 8:15 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. So which of these looks easier to you to calculate?
Yeah, so obviously 8:15 to 4:15.
Yeah, the
Right?
second one. Yeah, so this is why we're going to round this. So I'll go ahead and I'll define what a round and a grace is. So basically what round is, it's going to divide 1 hour into equal increments of time, and the most common values are 15 and 6. So this is 1 hour. This is not a clock. This is just 1 hour put in a circle, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, and you're back to 60 minutes. So if you divide it into 4, you're getting 15 minutes each. So this is called as quarter rounding. And there's one more thing called as 10th hour rounding, in which you're basically splitting your round into 6 minutes. So it will be 6, 6, 6, 12, 18, like that. so on. So I'll go ahead and I'll define what 15 is, like quarter rounding is, and I'll give you some activity for 10th hour rounding. So this is round, and these are the other types of rounds. So you can divide an hour into 5, but you just have to make sure that it's an equal amount. Like you can't do the first 10 minutes as 7 and the next as 30. You cannot do that. It has to be equal throughout. So now I have my rounds here. So consider this round. So I simply have my round. But if I punch, how will the system interpret and how will it make sure that the round is either going to 8 or 8:15? Say that I'm punching in at 8:05. So how will the system know if the punch should go back or it should go forward? So that is where the grace comes in place. So the grace value determines to which increment the punch should round. So it either causes the punch to either round forward to the next increment like 15, or it makes it go back to the previous increment. And so if an employee is going to punch at the grace minute, the punch goes, sorry. Now that I'll explain it in a bit, the next thing. So this is the basic definition of a round and a grace. So there are three terms when it comes to punch and grace. So we know that there has to be a grace value and it goes either backward or forward. But how will the grace go forward? Um, um, if it should go backward, how will the grace know? How will I let it know? So in that case, what we will do is we assign a value to grace, and there are three terms to this. So there are three terms to this: next, nearest, and previous. So next is my round is always going to grace. Sorry, my punch is always going to round forward. There is no going back in my next. Say for example, I punch in at 8:02, it always goes to 8:15, and in this case my grace value is 0. So this depends on the requirement. Like whatever requirement you get, they will not tell you have to use next, nearest, or the previous, because they won't be knowing. The person who is going to give you the requirement won't be knowing all those. They'll simply be telling you that, see, if anybody is punching at this point in time, I want the time to simply go forward, or I want it to go backward. So you have to decide based on your understanding which option to select, so it will suit correctly. So this is next. Next is within this interval, wherever you punch, the punch is always going to go forward. That is next. So in this case, the grace value is 0. Next option is nearest. Here the grace is half of your round. So in our case, our round is 15, right? So our grace is 17. So what happens is this is going to break up into two segments, say this one and this one. So if you punch anywhere in this belt, the punch is going to go back. And if you punch anywhere in this belt, the punch is going to go forward. Okay, so and the last term is previous. So in this case, our grace is 1 less than the round, like it's always only 1 point less than the round, and it always goes back. So my grace in my my previous would be 14, and it will always go back. So let's see some examples of how it's done. So I have a representation over here. So in next, my round is 15, my grace is 0. So wherever I punch, it's simply going to go forward. In my nearest, my increment would be divided into 2 by the grace, and the first half it goes back, and the second half it goes forward. And in my previous, it's always going to go back no matter what, but my grace is only 1 less than the round. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see some examples for the same. So this is next. So what happens is they're considering 1 hour here, 7 to 8. So if I punch, so these are the increments, right? 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, and 8. So I have four divisions, so I have my 4 increments. So this is next quarter hour rounding. Here my round is 15 and my grace is 0. So when I punch anywhere between 7:01 to 7:14, my punch is going to go forward to 7:15. Anywhere between 16 to 29, it's going to go forward to 30. Anywhere between 31 to 44, it goes to 45. Anywhere between 46 to 59, it goes to 8. So if I punch on 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, it's going to stay there. There's going to be no change in it. So this is next. So in nearest, what happens is the grace is half of a round. So it's 7. So we have 6 here and 6 here. So uh, so in this case also, if you punch on the round value like 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, it is going to stay there. But if you punch anywhere between 7:1 to 7:7, the punch is going to go forward. Anywhere between 7:8 to 7:14, the punch is going to go back. Similarly, 16 to 22, the punch is going to go back, and 23 to 29 is going to go forward. For 31 to 37, it goes back, and 38 to 44, it goes front in this quadrant, and in the last one, from 46 to 52, it goes back, and 53 to 59, it goes front. In previous hour rounding, so the grace is only 1 less than the round. So anytime between 1 to 14, it goes back to 7. Anytime between 16 to 29, goes back to 7:15. 31 to 44, back to 7:30. And 46 to 59, back to 7:45. So this is the basic definition, and while you're setting up, there won't be next, nearest, or previous. So we have to visualize which would set, which would suit our situation, and we will have to make the change. So I'll give you a small task. So I have this is for 1/4 rounding. So I have 1/10 rounding, which means my round is going to be 6. Can you tell me what the grace value is in next, if I choose to
0,
have
right?
the next
The
thing?
0 is always 0.
Yeah, 0. Yeah, yeah. So in my nearest, this is going to be 6. What would be my grace?
Like 3, we can take middle. No,
Yeah,
3, 4,
yeah, exactly. Okay, and in my previous?
6 and 5.
Yeah, perfect. So this is how this rounding works. So so we have spoken to the vendor. We're going to ask them for the database. So once it comes, we'll be able to load some employees in the system, and you can start testing it. So once we are done with the work rule building blocks, we'll actually apply all these to an employee. So you can view all those things on the time card and verify it for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how rounding works. So what happens in interval round rules is it's going to round the whole interval. So we saw an example, right? Say like if I'm punching at 8:20, and if I'm punching at 4:25, so my whole shift is going to be 8 hours and 3 minutes, I think. So what this interval rounding does is it's just going to round this shift alone. So like it's just going to round one particular thing. So I can tell it the same way. Like if I'm going to use the 1/4 hour rounding, I'm going to use previous because I just want the punch to go forward. I want the employee to lose his time. So my round is going to be 15 and my grace is going to be 7. I'll state
So,
this. Yes.
so when they use the rounding rules, they won't use interval rules. Is that how it is? Or if they use that, then is it?
Yeah, so they generally use only one sort of rule. Mostly interval round rules won't be used. Mostly companies prefer to use only punch round rules. But I just want you to have an understanding of how this works. This is not going to affect the system because anyway, if you're rounding the punch, the whole amount is going to be rounded. There's no point in again rounding your shift.
Yeah, that's what, I
So
don't know how I
yeah.
haven't heard about it, but I think it's good to know. Yes, so it's to round the
Yes.
whole work
Yeah,
rather
this
than
is to round
one.
the whole punch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next thing is your punch round rule. So in your punch round rule, you have several items over here, and 1 second. So this I set up yesterday. So I have 4 tabs here: in punch, out punch, unscheduled, and miss punch. So this is basically how you want the system to interpret your in punch. So it could be any in punch, your first in punch or your break in punch. This could be your out punch for the day or your breakout punch. Unscheduled is when you don't have a shift but you still come to work. So in that cases, how do you want the shift to, I mean, how do you want the system to interpret your shift? And this is a missed punch. Like if you have a missed punch, what do you want the system to do for you? So let's see the first one. So when you see, there's something called as change point here. So what change point basically means is at which point in time do you want the system to start applying the rules the hour? So say for example, we have this 15-hour increment, right? I'm going to say that the first 30 minutes, just leave it as it is. Like don't do any rounding on the punches. But for the next 30 minutes, I want you to divide it into 15 and I want you to apply rules. So in that case, what you do is you put your change point as 30. So it's not going to touch the first 30 minutes of the shift, but it's just going to look at the next 30 minutes and it's going to divide it into 15. And say if somebody is, and I'm using previous technique, so if somebody is punching in at 8:43, it's going to go back to 8:30. So that is change point. So now if you see the outside and inside punch, this is grayed out because I don't have anything on my change point. So once I once I assign a change point, what happens is this whole 1 hour gets divided into inside and outside. Inside of the change point, outside of the change point. That's what it, inside of the change point and outside of the change point. But for now I'm just going to go ahead with 0 as a change point. So the first work rule that we will be building together will be a basic one, but as homework I'll give you little complex ones, so you'll be able to understand. At that point in time we'll start using change point, but I just wanted to have an understanding or knowledge about what this change point means. I hope I'm clear. I'm not confusing, right?
Yeah. You said change point is
Okay.
the first point up until that point. So if you give 30 minutes as there, before 30 minutes, don't do
So
anything.
that's an
That
example.
becomes,
I can also say 15 minutes.
yeah, okay.
So change point is basically like in that whatever minutes or hours I'm going to say there, that particular time is not going to be considered. Like my shift is 8 to 4, right? So if I give 30 minutes as the change point for my first in punch, so from 8 to 8:30 it will not do anything for that for the punch. It's going to leave it as it is, but
Yeah.
after the 30 minutes it's going to start rounding based on
Okay.
whatever I give. In my example here I'm doing quarter rounding, and I want previous, so my round is 15 and my grace is 14.
Yeah.
Similarly, for my late punch, it's going to be 15 and 14. This is for the in punch if I'm early and late, that is if I start before schedule and after schedule. So I said the same thing for my out punch as well, like this 14 15 14 15. So I didn't touch my unscheduled. I've just left it to the defaults. By default the round is always 1 minute, so you cannot change it. So, and I didn't touch my missed punch as well. So this is the basic setup that we will most generally do. So that is it about the rounding rules. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay.
Or if you're, we'll just go forward.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I got negated. So outpunch unscheduled. Outpunch is also same. Did you show me unscheduled and missed, or did I miss it?
No. We didn't set up unscheduled and missed for now. So once we have employees,
Yeah.
we'll just later test with unscheduled and missed. Like unscheduled is a whole different thing. Like that's very easy. There are other options associated with unscheduled, like exceptions, alerts. So once we go there, I'll come back and I'll show it to you. I just don't
Okay.
want to confuse you. I just want to take it step by step. So I planned it this way.
Yes. Fine. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fine. So the third thing in your work rule building block is your shift guarantee. So what a shift guarantee basically does is, irrespective of the amount of time you work on the day that I want to assign this shift guarantee, you're going to get the minimum payment that I'm going to set up over here. So um, I'm going to determine some time. I'm going to determine some time and pay them irrespective of the shift work. So this is nothing but amount of time that employee earn even if they work very less time. So I did a 2 hour minimum. So what I'm basically trying to tell is, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, even if my employee is going to work only for 15 minutes, he's going to get 2 hours pay for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is shift guarantee. So this depends entirely from company to company. So I just took my own example here. So I just put 2 for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So irrespective of how much time they work on that day, they'll get paid for the minimum 2 hours. Even if it's less than 2 hours, they'll get paid for 2 hours. So that is shift guarantee. The next thing is exceptions. So exceptions are nothing but these are the flags in the system. In the time cards, you must have seen in the time cards, sometimes it shows red, sometimes it shows blue. So we're just trying to flag the system to identify if there's any deviation from the scheduled shift from the normal work patterns. So I have an example here. So I have an unscheduled and early over here, but I'll go ahead and we'll create a new one. Okay, so what I'll basically be doing is, I want to flag the system when somebody is working an unscheduled shift. Like I don't want that person to, continue working even though he doesn't have a shift. So what I'll do is I'll select my unscheduled, and let's say that I'm going to flag the employees when they come in 30 minutes or more before their schedule start. So what I'll be doing is, in the in punch, so 30 minutes is early. Anything before that, like if an employee is coming 30 minutes before his scheduled start, then it's called early. So if it's anything more than 30 or so, it's called very early. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to set up 30. I'll make this 00.
So one question. Now we
Yeah,
said this is going to be unscheduled. So it is
yeah.
still a scheduled time, but employee is working outside the schedule. So we are checking these
Yeah, he
exceptions.
doesn't have any schedule for the day, but he has still come and worked a shift. So on the time card, you will be able to say his in and out, and you will be seeing some pay codes for him, even though he doesn't have a shift. So you just want to flag an employee if he is unscheduled and if he is early. So we can do one thing. We can just do early, like I'll remove unscheduled for easy
No,
understanding.
because I'm
So I'm going
understanding.
to flag.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, because if it is unscheduled, where is the point of early or not early? We don't know. There is no shift. Employee is just coming anytime. Is that no?
So yeah, so somebody just called him at the last moment, and manager is asking him to just come in and work. So in that cases, he wouldn't have a shift, but he'll still be working, right? So this
Yes.
is why managers and payroll review the time cards, because managers will be knowing when that employee is supposed to work and when he is not supposed to work. So based on that, he will approve the time card or disapprove. But we can flag the system. Like if there is any unscheduled, you can just leave the rest of the things. Just tick unscheduled and leave it. We'll do an early. So we want to flag if anybody is coming 30 minutes early to their shift, the in punch. So I'll just leave it at early, and I'll be saving this. The setup is fairly easy. I think I confused you. Like there could be scenarios where you're unscheduled and you're early to your shift. there could be scenarios where you're scheduled in early to your shift, late to your shift, very early or very late out. So these are all exceptions, the types of exceptions.
Okay. I think I need more time to understand this one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, once we work on an employee, you'll be able to grasp it,
Okay.
I think. Yeah. So for break, I haven't set up anything for now. So once we do breaks, we'll come back and we will fix it. So I don't want to flag any exception. So usually for breaks, what we'll do is if any employee has taken a short break, say like if he's only taken 29 minutes, his scheduled break is 30, but he's only taken less than 30, like say 25 minutes. So this is going to flag the system and we will be knowing.
Yeah.
Short break. So this is just to let the system know how to pick up time cards when there is a deviation from the shift. Okay. So that is exceptions. Next is core hours. Core hours is nothing but we are defining time ranges that employees are expected to work. So I'll say that this is my core violation. So I'll say core hours. So this person has to work all these hours in order to get paid. So this is something that's opposite to the shift guarantee, where you're saying in shift guarantee that the employee has to work a minimum time. Sorry, even if he's working only a minimum time, on the days that I tell, he's going to get paid at least for 2 hours. But core hours is like these are the time ranges that the employees are expected to work in order to get qualified for the pay. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so I'll just take Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'll save this. Okay, that is core hours. So the next thing is breaks. So we will get started with breaks. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, so as you know, breaks are out intervals during an employee shift. So breaks are defined so that the system will know how to handle the in and out punch interval within the employee shift. So if you see a time card, there will be one or two in punches and one or two out punches. Like, so how will the system know what is which in punch and out punch? Or like, so once you come in, it's your in. So for break, you go out. Again, you come in. Again, you go out. So you are basically telling the system which out and which in punch to consider in order to give them a break. So some organizations have one or more policies for deducting time from employees for breaks or meals. Some give breaks as a complement for their shift, but some organizations don't pay you for the break. Like for the 30-minute meal, they don't pay you. How is it at your organization? I think for salaried people it doesn't matter, but I think for people who are working on hourly basis, they don't pay for the breaks, right?
Yeah, I think some they deduct and some they just pay.
Yeah, yeah. So mostly it'll be like if you're salaried, like if you have a fixed salary for your month, I think your break is complimentary. But if you're working hour to hour, then I think the break won't be paid at some organizations.
Yeah, because I think I do
Okay.
see some they'll have
Yeah.
8.5 hours, and only 8 hours is considered for
Mm-hmm.
especially employees.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So in some organizations, employees are required to punch in and out for their breaks and meals, especially when they have to leave the premises. So in some cases, when employees don't punch in and out, we can schedule the system for a meal to be automatically deducted from their shift. So again, break rule is a work rule building block, and this work rule is going to be associated with the employee's pay rule. So let us discuss this with an example. Is this all very confusing for you, or I think I should go slow
No, I think exception rules, I am not sure if I got everything. I have to see
a bit?
how, especially
Okay,
about
okay,
funds and stuff.
okay,
And
okay,
guarantee, I
okay.
think
Do you want me to go over exceptions once again? I think I'll probably clear exceptions for you once again, and then I'll go to breaks.
breaks. Or I mean, we can do it.
So,
One to one example and then go from there. Also, is also okay.
uh,
We'll just
yeah, yeah, no problem. I'll do exceptions now. So exceptions are flags or markers that are used to alert managers when employees work outside of their assigned shift. So this appears on the time cards. Exceptions track cases where an employee works differently from the expected work conditions, such as an unscheduled shift or an early shift or a late shift. So this is associated with the shift. So so why we basically use this, so there's also one more use why we use exceptions that's associated with attendance. I'm not sure if you have attendance module, but these exceptions can be used to create some events in attendance. Say like if this person has a few exceptions in this week, say like he has two or three early, he's coming early to work, or he's going late early from work or early from shift. So at that point, we can set the system to set an alert or set a flag on the time card, and attendance is going to track these flags and say that you can set up an event saying that if there are more than two or more early leaving days for this person in a week, then you can create a point for him. So that is one more use of this. So the system won't know if you're early for your shift or if you're late for your shift, right? So we have a schedule. Um, Sorry, we need to have a schedule for this exception to work. So without an exception, the system will not be knowing if we are early or if we are late. So what the system does it, it's going to compare the employees' punch times to their assigned shifts to locate any unusual occurrences, such as leaving early or leaving late, etc. So there are other examples of exceptions, like working a longer or a shorter shift, the total shift, than the expected time. So these are also tracked in the exception rules. And if there is an absence, it can track absence, like it will show unexcused absence. Like if you don't have a prior pay code applied to your leave, it that on your time card it will just show as unexcused absence. Or if an employee is forgetting to punch, or if their break period is too short, all these can be flagged by exceptions. Usually we don't define all the exceptions, but we just use these for coming late, like late in, early out, very long breaks, unscheduled shifts. So these are the common exceptions that we set up. So consider this, like you have okay, I will use this. So say that your scheduled shift is from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay, so if you punch anywhere after 8 or before, if you punch anywhere after 8, say like after 8:30 or anything, then that is late. So you're late to work. And if you punch anywhere before 4 p.m., you're early. You're leaving very early from work. So
yeah.
similarly, if you're going to if you come anywhere before 8, say like 30 minutes before, okay, this is 7 a.m. here. So this is 7 a.m., right? So if you come anywhere between half an hour between before 8, so that means that you're early for your work. But if you come anywhere before 7 a.m., then you're very early for work,
Yeah.
right? So Similarly, at 4 you're late. So if you leave after 4 you're late, but if you leave anywhere after 5 you're very late to work. So basically what the system will be doing, if you're coming at 7, if you're leaving at 5, you would have 9 hours, and the system is going to pay you for 9 hours. So if you want, so in order to reduce all those things, we are going to set up this exception. So the time cards will flag you with some color codes like red or something. It will your basically your time card will look like this. So looking at this, you'll know that the system is going to flag this like this. And so looking at this, you know that this person has been very early to work. So this is how the exceptions basically work. This is with regards to having a shift. So consider the situation: you don't have a shift, you have an unscheduled shift, but you're coming to work. There could be other reasons, like you've been called in at the last minute to work, or that person has simply come in and worked an unscheduled shift. You can flag that unscheduled if he doesn't have a schedule. But somebody has called him to work and still he is unscheduled. So in that case, you can flag him for early, very early exceptions. So this is the concept. So this is the concept behind the exceptions. Uh, so do you want us to do another practice? Like, do you want us to create other, do you want to
No,
create
I
other
think this is
exception
fine.
rules now?
When we do the when we do our employee, that time I will
Yeah,
try in your
yeah.
example, and then we can discuss
Okay.
more.
Okay. So, but now you understand the concept, right? What we are trying to achieve with exceptions.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I think we'll go on with breaks now. So in breaks, what's happening is, okay, I think we'll use another Excel to do this. Um, so let's say that my shift is starting at this point. Shift start, and my shift is ending. So somewhere in between, I'm going to have my break. At this point, I'll have my break. So okay, so let's consider this scenario. So my company's policy is that the employees punch for a 30-minute lunch. The employee can be gone for up to 90 minutes for their lunch break. If employees punch back anytime before 30 minutes expire, the interval is rounded up to full 30 minutes. If employee punches back in after 30 minutes has expired, the interval rounds up to the next quarter hour, and the punch should display as an exception in the time card. Okay, so I have some scenarios. I'm just gonna type it out here. So what basically my scenario is my first thing is my employees punch for a 30-minute break, 30-minute lunch. Sorry. So my second one is So my second thing is, so my employee can be gone up to, they can take up to 90 minutes for their break, with the minimum is 30. So if the employee is going to punch back in any time before the 30 minutes expire, any minutes before 30, the lunch is rounded up to the full 30 minutes. So it's 30-minute rounding. So punch before 30, then rounding done to then rounding is done to 30 minutes. So instead of 15-minute rounding, we'll be doing 30 minutes rounding over here. So if the employee punches back in after 30 minutes has expired, the interval rounds up to the next quarter hour, and the punch should display as an exception. So we'll be flagging this as an exception. So employees can have one or more breaks assigned to them, like they can have a lunch and a dinner assigned to them, like a 30-hour lunch and a 1-hour dinner. So we have some key factors when we determine a break rule. So first one is the normal length. So what is like if in order to understand how the breaks are interpreted, there are three questions that we ask generally. So we ask what is the normal length. So first we have to know how long the employee is expected to be gone during the break. So that is the normal length. So so what happens if less than norm time is taken? So how is the rounding done? This will be our second question. Lesson comment done. So first we'll be knowing the normal length, right? So we can configure the system to round accordingly for a short or a long break. So at what point do we assume that the employee is not coming back for the day? It's like they've gone for the break and they've not come for a long time. So at what point do we assume that the employee is not coming back for the day? For that, we also need to accommodate for when the employee expects to return, but due to some unforeseen instances like illness or accident, they might not come back, right? So in that cases, the norm is like we cannot expect that employee to return. So in order to do this, we'll be calculating the shift length. Can I erase this whole stuff? Is there
Yeah,
anything
that's fine.
that you want to note? Okay.
No, that should be okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how a total shift is calculated. So um, I'm going to consider a 9-hour shift with 30-minute break. So the total time I'm going to work is 8 hours and 30 minutes. So 7 a.m. is my start. I will take a break at 12 p.m. and at say that I came back from my break early in 16 minutes, and then I'm going to punch out at 4 p.m. So this is an example of a shift. So the total time this person has worked is nine 9 hours from 4 to thing, but since my rounding says that sorry, since my minimum break is 30, my break would be 30 minutes, and I'm going to perform some uh, rounding. So my first question here would be how long, what is the total shift length? So that is 9 hours. So my second question is, what is my total break length? So by seeing on the screen, it is 16 minutes, but this is shorter than the normal. So here we need to determine if there is a rounding in place. And my other requirement is I'm going to do a round and grace for my in punch. For a short break, I'm going to do a round and grace of say 30. So it's going to be 30. It's going to divide the shift into 30, and my grace is 30. So it's next rounding. So it's always going to go next. And for my long round or grace and my long break, I will do it as 6 and 3. Okay. So this is going to be 0603. Okay, and maximum time my break can be taken is 1.30, 1 hour 30 minutes. So what is the total break length? So here, if you see the time card, it's going to say that it's only 16 minutes, but so this is shorter than the normal. So it's going to apply this rounding. So this means that the 16-minute meal will be rounded up to 30 minutes. So 30 and 0, right? My round is 30, my grace is 0. So it's going to go forward. So it's going to go to 12:30. So my total break is going to be 30 minutes after calculation. Do you
Yeah.
understand this?
Yeah.
Yeah. This side is my scenario. I'm just trying to answer some questions over here. And okay, so what is my total work time? It's going to be my total shift minus total break. So it's going to be 8.30.
Yeah.
So this is how we calculate the total shift length. So I have a scenario for you, one or two. I'm going to do the requirement over here. I'll do the requirement over here. So you'll have to answer the questions for me. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll set up the requirements.
Okay.
7 a.m. 12 p.m. 12:34 p.m. and 4 p.m. So this is my in, out, in, out. So my normal meal is 30 minutes. My rounding is going to be the same. My maximum length is going to be 1.30. So we have these questions. So 12, let's say in at only say 2 p.m. This is one scenario. And okay, yeah, can you please answer these questions? I've split it with the green thing. So this is my first question. So my employee is coming in at 7, he's going out at 12, coming back again from break at 12:34, and he's going out at 4. So my normal break is 30 minutes. Maximum he can take is 1 hour 30 minutes. So if there is any shortage, I mean, like if there's a short break, like if it's taken within 30 minutes, then you'll have to apply the short round. If it's more than 30 minutes, you have to apply the long round. So you'll have to calculate the total shift rank, the total break, and the final shift for me. Go ahead. Do
So
you
in the
want
first one,
control?
yeah, you can control. That's fine.
Yeah.
So do I have
Yep. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Amazing. Okay, so in my second scenario, this employee has taken 2 hours of break, so you'll have to apply.
Yeah, so he's finished maximum length. So that would I say he's now out. There's no more out punch. I will.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then you also said 4 p.m. Is that did he punch or did he come back? Because if we
Yeah,
consider
so he's come back at 4. He's come back in at 4. So in this case, what happens is, like you said, the 2 p.m. is considered as an out punch and the 4 is considered as an in punch. So here the shift total will only be say 7 to 12, 5. So the punch exceeds the maximum length. So it doesn't recognize this as a meal. Yeah, so in this, okay, yeah, go ahead and apply the rules, but I'll explain you. Yeah, go ahead and apply the rules.
because it is not like that. We said he
Yeah.
left it. He came at.
Yeah, he left. Yeah, he came at 2, so it's a very long break, right? So
So
it's
basically 5
exceeding
plus
the
4
maximum.
hours, right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking 1 second.
Yeah. Take your time.
What did is it comes to 7 hours? No, not the break.
No, so in this case, since it's exceeded the maximum length, it will not consider the break at all. So it will think that he's only worked for 5 hours from 7 to 12.
Then what about the work from 2 to 4?
Yeah, so this system will not be able to recognize that it's a break there because it's exceeded the maximum length. So in this case, there's something called as the punch interpretation rule, that is a payroll module that will tell the system how to interpret these punches. But for this scenario, you can apply the long grace and you can calculate the break.
So he came at 7 o'clock, went at 12 because it's a maximum blend.
Uh-huh.
That becomes his out punch, right? Because he never came back.
Yes, yes, yes.
So is 2 o'clock an out punch or an in punch? It's an in punch, right? Again?
Yes, yes.
So basically he left because that becomes his out punch. He never came back.
Yes, yes.
So 2 to 4 is still because this is in and out according
Yes.
to in and out, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we think it is not going to pay anything for this work?
No, it won't.
Okay. And if we have to pay for that work,
then we will have to use something called as the punch interpretation rule. So that once the work rule is set up, we'll set up the punch interpretation rule.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to give you a scenario where where we need a different system to help us with it. So that's it. Okay, so when you take a break, the individual punches are not rounded, so it's the whole shift that's rounded, like the interval round rules. So if an employee is going to break at say 11:44 and come back at 12:20, his total break is 36 or something. So that amount is only getting rounded and not his individual shifts. So there is one more scenario of how the total break is rounded. So let's see one more example. Or I'll give you an example. So if an employee punches in at say 7 and 11:44 and 12:14 p.m. and 4 p.m. is out. So here the total shift is 9, right? So the total shift is 9.
Yeah.
Break is 30 minutes. So 30 minutes is deducted from the shift. So the total shift is 8:30. So if employee punches at 7:44, sorry, the same scenario but with a different system, say like 11:44 and say 12:20 p.m. So here the total break length is 36 minutes. So if I apply quarter rounding to this, 36 minutes of break. So if I apply quarter rounding and say I do nearest, so what happens is this round is basically only 30 minutes, right? So it rounds back to the, since it's 36, it falls within, so it goes back to 30. So um, um, the break is actually only for 30 minutes and this is deducted from the shift. So you
Yeah.
will get 8:30 again. So this is how rounding is done. So let's see one more example. Okay, so
Yes.
this in here, it's 7, say 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. and 4. So this is the same thing from here. Let's take the same scenario and okay, can you calculate? And let me know how this is interpreted when I want to round the break as a whole and not the punches?
Or when you want on the break as a whole. Okay, so
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah. Or if you want me to do it together with you, I'm okay with it. I can work this one together with you.
I think it will come down to 70 minutes, right? Break comes down to 70 minutes.
No. So in this situation, the total break is 1 hour and 11 minutes. So when you apply 6:3 to it, since it's long, when you
So
apply
when you apply
6:3 to it, yeah, it rounds to 112.
because 6
Wait, I will just, yeah.
or because you have 6:12, because I'm thinking, okay, yes, right. So 12, yeah.
The shift length 9. My break is 112. So my total shift is going to be 9 minus 7:48.
Yeah,
So he'll
7,
get paid for 7 hours, 48 minutes.
right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just go to the setup, how this thing works. I'll pick up a new one. So, uh, so I'll explain the options over here. So we have normal lengths, normal break lengths. So this is the type of length for a normal meal. Like if the normal meal length is not exceeded, the system uses the short, round, and grace rules to determine how to round the punches for anybody who's taking a break less than the defined length. Like you have a 30-minute rule. So it's going to work based on your short break. So your medium break length is the amount of time between the established length of the break and the maximum length that an employee can punch out during the shift and still have the next punch recognized as the return in punch for that shift. So in the second scenario that we saw, it exceeded more than 1.5 hours, right? So you can set up as 2 hours over here. So it will interpret based on that, and it will still consider the next punch as your return in punch. And the last one is your maximum length. So this means the maximum amount of time in which an employee can punch out during a shift and still have the next punch recognized as a return in punch. So this option is configured so that the system can differentiate between an in punch, that is a return from break, and in punch, that is start of a new shift. So some people work 2 shifts, right, with breaks in between. So for those cases, you can use this maximum break length. So in this, the actual punches are compared to this amount. Like we did one whole shift and we calculated the breaks, right? So in this situation, it's going to calculate the shifts as two different options. So, so you're now telling the system what your normal, medium, or maximum break can be. Now we are going to tell the system how your round and graces can apply to those punches. So you know how round and grace works. I'll explain how this unscheduled works. So this, you select to use unscheduled transfer punch rounding instead of interval rounding for the break punches. So we said that if there's a 36-minute break, the system is going to round the whole break and not the individual punches. So for unscheduled, you can use your actual punch rounding instead of your interval rounding. So when this can be selected for short, medium, and long breaks. Sorry, when you select unscheduled, your short, medium, and long, it's these gets disabled, so you'll not be able to use the punch rounding for your normal things. So when you remove this unscheduled, you'll be able to use rounds and graces for your short, medium, and long. Uh, so there's another option called the break setting over here. So what this means is you select this break start at or after option to define a range of time that applies to this break rule, which identifies the beginning of the range. Like you use this option when you want to assign several break rules to an employee, like lunch and dinner, or two breaks or two dinners, etc. So if there's somebody who's working on the night shift, they get two breaks. So in such scenarios, so these options help to ensure that the appropriate break rule apply to the appropriate times. So this is based on actual punches again. So there's another option called break starts before. So what this means is you select this option to identify the end of the valid interval for this break rule. Say for example, you can use this when the break rules apply only for a portion of the day instead for the entire day. Like instead of giving lunch and dinner, you just want this to apply to lunch. So in that case, you can select break starts before, and this is again based on your actual punches. Like it starts with accordance to your actual shift start and end time. So the third option is your break starts relative to. So you can select at midnight or your scheduled start or your actual start. So this option determines how the break starts at or after and before option works. So relative to midnight sets those options as fixed points in time, like there's no change in it, while the schedule and start are available. So it's going to be relative to midnight. Your break is considered uh, 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 okay. So how to explain this? Okay, so when you select this option, only from midnight it's going to consider a point in time where your break gets interpreted, not before your midnight, or after a point in time after the midnight. So from 12 midnight, it's going to select sorry, it's going to interpret the shift, and it's going to process your breaks accordingly. So that is that is how your break start is calculated. So what paid amount means is when employees take a break that is equal to or less than the paid amount, no time is deducted from their time cards because the breaks are complementary. But if they take a break that is longer than the paid amount, only the incremental amount of time is deducted from their shift. So you basically are going to deduct some time, or like say after he's taken 37 minutes, but you're only going to pay for 30 minutes. So only those 7 minutes that's going to get deducted from the shift start time. So some people, they allow grace of 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes they deduct. So you can specify all those amounts over here. Short exception limit is used to identify employees who take short lunches. This identifies situations on the time cards and reports. So this is helpful in reporting short exception and long exception. So anybody that takes a short break, say like less than 30 minutes or less than 25 minutes, they get flagged in the system, and there are some database tables that hold these values, and you can use these for reporting purposes for your uh, payroll day. Okay, so let's configure a break now. Okay,
So in the
give me.
example that we went through in the spreadsheet, We only had a normal length and the maximum length. We don't have anything as medium, right? Because we said
yeah, we don't use medium. Like I have never come across a scenario where we have used medium, but
yeah,
probably I'll give you some exercises so we can test with it. We'll generally use minimum or max, right? We never go for medium.
yeah.
Okay, so 1 minute. Okay, so let's configure this. So we will do 30 minutes minimum and a maximum of 90 minutes. And we round to 10th. So, okay, my normal meal is going to be 30 minutes and my maximum is maximum meal is 1 hour 30. Okay, so this is done. It will be images. So I have to set my grace to short break. So for short, we'll use the 30 and next. So I'll leave my grace as 0. But for my long break, I want it to be 6, and I will leave should round to the next to the long break at 6. Okay, my round is going to be 6 and my grace is going to be 0. So I want my short to be calculated by 30 but 00 and my long to be calculated via the 1/10 hour rounding. So we know that the long break is an interval of time more than the normal length. So the normal length in our scenario is 30 minutes. And the employee wants to be flagged if the employee takes a long lunch. So, okay, so and I'll also set up a long exception limit. I'll say 31 minutes. So my I'll get an exception on the time card if there is any break more than 31 minutes. So I'll save this. Okay. Are you clear with breaks? Do you have any questions with breaks?
Yeah, I think I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any time next week in the weekdays so we can use our weekend session to practice on employees? Like, I'm just checking with you. If not, that's fine with me. But just wanted to.
No, because I think last week is Tuesday because only next week. After that, weekdays is won't work for me. Weekdays just doesn't work. But Tuesday, if it works, then we can work out something on Tuesday.
Mhm. Okay.
But Thursday, Friday doesn't work. And from next week, it just gets more busy, you know.
Okay.
Because next week
Get it.
from next week, I'm
You're
directly
starting a
starting
new job.
and then I will not have
Okay.
time during the day because it's just I have to
Okay.
understand. So Tuesday, yes, Tuesday. If you're okay, we can plan for Tuesday. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it has
this
to.
Tuesday.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah, I'm fine this Tuesday. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm fine this Tuesday. Like I'm free this Tuesday, so we can probably do 2 hours, I think.
yeah. So Tuesday, 2 hours is okay.
Yep. Okay,
17th of
so
August.
I think yeah, 17th of August, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How about Wednesday?
No. No.
No, okay. So I'll do one thing. I'll stop the pay policies here. We are halfway through. So there's only very few more to cover. So I'll do that topic on Tuesday, and I'll give you some examples to test. I'll also create a document in the meantime as to what all things you have to do. Like in those 3 days, can you practice for our next week before our next weekend session?
Yeah, sure. I can practice that one. And we're going to cover auto-resolved exceptions, right? Because that's one thing which is widely
Yes,
used here.
yes. No, yes. I'll definitely cover, but I think we'll do it in the next class.
Yeah, yeah.
The next set of things we'll do it in the next class because it'll it'll be too much to process for
Yes.
today. So today I'll just go ahead with some navigator setup and stuff. So
Okay, sounds good.
I'll do
Yeah.
the rest of the work
Let's see
rule.
the
So I'll
details of
also
what
I am so
okay.
what happens is these are your normal reports. This is where you come and you check your normal reports. For example,
Yes.
if I want to see employees time detail, I come here. So you know this, right? You know how this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How
This
to
one I
run
know.
reports, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's something called as other reports over here. So you can create your own reports. So if you want to just get few columns and few information that is not in here, you can create your own reports and you can use it, for which you need to know SQL coding and some basic Microsoft reporting services. It's based on Visual Studio. You go in and you create some reports that I'm not sure if your job requires that, but
Yes, I think that that is
that's
something that
something.
I need. Yeah, I was yeah, I want that one reporting.
Okay,
Because I
okay,
find the
I'll
biggest problem with the Kronos is the reporting.
okay, like you want to
Seriously.
create your own reports
Yeah, at
like
least
that,
some
right?
easy reports because some of the things you can't even get into spreadsheet. They're just like a PDF and then
Yes,
navigating.
yes.
I I have a more understanding on SAP because that's where I was before.
SAP.
And I find SAP.
Okay,
And I find SAP reporting, maybe I keep comparing because but then
uh,
that's
okay,
that's why I want to
okay.
know the reporting side also a bit of just to make it myself
Sure,
better to read.
sure, definitely. We can work on that. Okay. I thought we'll create some employees and then I'll show you the navigator. So So this is where I come in to create navigators. So we have four parts over here. One is widget parts, widgets, workspaces, and navigators. So this thing is called as a workspace. This is one workspace and this is second workspace. Um, so this part is called a widget. So I have two widgets side by side to me. So this whole thing is called as a workspace. So my this first workspace looks like this. My second workspace looks like this. This is again a widget. So on the right, what you see is called the related items pane. So this is going to have items that are going to help me, relate to what I want to work to. So if I have some employees, I can pick up their time cards and I can look at their time cards. I can I can work on their schedules. I can work on their requests. I can check my inbox from here to see if there's any delegation being done. Like if there's some manager going on leave, they can share their delegate. I mean, they can delegate their work to me, so I can manage their employees for them. So you start from here. Let's see this how employee template is done. Okay, so we set up widget paths and we come to navigators, but I'm just going to show you what are there in the navigators, so you will know what all you need to set up before that. So I have my workspaces. I have to select my workspaces. I have my widgets. I have to create some widgets. So each navigator is going to be different, and I'm going to assign this navigator to my employees so that they will be able to so that when this person logs on with this navigator profile, he will be able to view the systems that I have selected. Do you have access to Kronos at your system now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so can you check how it works there, like how the navigation is set up? So you'll basically have to either go to manage your departments if you have super access, or if you have manager access, ask if you can get super access in your development system, and then try to see if you're able to see what type of navigator profiles you have. So widgets are nothing but so these are called the widget paths. So you create widget paths to create a widget, like in a widget what all widget paths you need to see. So we'll see something that's already existing over here. So this is request manager alert category. I think this is the wrong example to show. Schedule alert. Okay, let's see how schedules work. So this is a schedule alert widget part. So I have different icons over here. I can select any icon to have an idea of it. This is a widget part. This is a widget part. So I can have any symbols to show up for me. So they have selected alert HTML. I think they have only created one in this system. Yeah. So this is basically to alert any changes in the schedules or something, or they can check the schedules thing. So this is one. So I combine one or two widgets to create a workspace. So let's see this alerts. So alerts is set up. So if you see this alert, so it's going to alert me for any exceptions and if there is any request manager. So when I click this, it's going to show all the exceptions to me over here. So this is one example of a widget. So alert is a widget. So I have my alert categories. I have only 5 set up in my category. So in these, I'm going to use my exceptions and my request manager. So I can assign this to a workspace, or uh, I can just use it as it is. So in workspace, we just saw, right, how we saw two side by side. So that I'm going to come here and I'm going to select it here. So if I select 3 columns, it's going to display like this. If I select one widget, it's only going to do one like this. If I'm going to select 2 columns, it's going to display like this, top and bottom. Side by side is what we have for our initial thing. So I have all these widgets, right? So I'm going to select which all I want. So these gets loaded in my related items pane. Time card, genies, requests, reports, inbox, group edits, exceptions. So that is it about workspaces. So you assign one or two workspaces to Navigator. So when I am actually logging into this system, I'm able to view the workspaces that are assigned to me. So I can view other workspaces by selecting the plus icon and I can check this. So you can try going to your system and you can see how this is set up. So you'll be able to relate more to it.
So
Do you
what you're
have any
saying is
questions?
there is some space that is already called at the top. We just keep adding what we
Yeah.
want at the top.
Yeah,
Or by
so these are
default.
some basic alerts. Yeah, no, this I think one comes by default, but you can create this exceptions alert category. So these are basically widgets. You just assign a widget to this.
So this area is called the top little box is called
It's simply called a widget part or the
widget.
alerts part. Yeah.
Okay.
This is an inbox. So they have a request manager alert. So you can also try creating an inbox for your as a widget here. So when you just click on that icon, it's going to show your inbox directly rather than you going to manage your department and then going to your inbox.
So I got access to the system. Yes, they gave. I've asked them to
Okay.
give me. So let me just
Okay.
log into. What is navigation profile and navigator profile? We are doing navigator profiles, right? We're
Yeah.
doing navigator profiles.
Yeah. So that's basically your display profile, like you're telling how you want the display uh, to be done. So once you create your navigator profiles, one or two, you're going to assign it to your navigation profiles.
So So there are
and
4
you can,
navigator profiles that I can see here.
yeah, the same. You would have got the test profile login, I think.
So can you open the navigator profile? Where did we see all that?
The other thing, so that for that you'll have to go to manage navigators on your workspace. You just click the plus sign and you go
Yeah, yeah.
to manage navigators. Are you able to see this? You
Yes.
must be.
So
I
what is the
haven't
difference?
changed any access yet. So,
Okay. Now, what is the difference between? I know we're seeing navigator profiles, but we're going from a different place to.
oh, you collect one or more navigators to set up a navigator profile. Like,
Okay. Okay.
so all these are the navigators that you set up here. And this is what you can see here in your navigator profile. You basically assign this navigator profile to a person, so he'll be able to view those setup. For some
Okay.
reason this doesn't allow me to pick up this person, so I have to, yeah. Usually we set up this and we start the classes, but I didn't want to waste any time, so I thought I'll start with the basics for you. So in the meantime, we can set the access and we can test on it. It works
Okay.
either way. So I hope you're not getting confused, or since you have access to the system, I thought it'll be easier for you to grasp the basics
Sure.
first. Yeah.
In the widget parts, I'm seeing there is something alert category, alert subcategory, audit entry, different calendar, blah blah blah. Time. What are do we do all those things? Wait.
In widgets here,
In the widget parts, audit
okay.
entry. If you just go to the calendar widget part, different size subsections. The page.
So these are all just the alert categories. So this is one category. So you have different categories for your thing. So alert is basically this. You can create some for schedules. You can create some for calendars. Is that is that does that answer your question or?
No, one second, just. Oh yeah, what are these? Are these all these ones, different ones.
Yeah, these are all different navigation, oh sorry, different categories. So one is alert. Alert is what you see here. This is the alert widget part. So similarly, you can set up something called as a schedule widget. Mostly we only have an alert because schedules and all, we just come to our right pane and we can check the schedules from here, right? So we don't set up any widget part for schedules, but you can go ahead and create schedule widget parts as well. So
Okay.
usually for
Now,
alerts, we have, sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
no, you please go ahead.
Now, as
I'll
part
answer
of
your
the
question.
navigator, as part of the
Mm-hmm,
navigators, what is
mm-hmm,
all that we are setting? I know what I understand is the top parts, the where you're seeing exclamatory mark and that little one. That is one thing that
mm-hmm,
we set it up. What else
mm-hmm.
comes as part of that navigator profiles? Is what we are seeing your workspace. This part is also
Yes,
controlled by,
yes,
and what we are seeing at the
yes,
top.
yes. This is all navigator. Yes, yes. So that is all part of the navigation. But what you see or what you have access to all depends on your display profile. So this is your display profile. So basically, I have super access display profile. Um, so what happens is I'm going to go here and I'll be selecting the manager selection. So it will show me what my access should be, like what my genie's access should be, what my navigator profile access should be, and what my hyperfine access should be. So all what you see, what you display is basically controlled in the display access profile. But what access you have, like read or write or what stuff you can do, is where you go and do in the function access profile. So this basically is nothing but you're going to give them access to, say you're going to allow or disallow. So say for example, I'm going to create an access profile for an employee, but I don't want the employee to be able to edit their punches. uh, let's see what all options we have for punch. So okay, so as an employee I can disallow his access to timestamp, and
So do you have a requirement to say this is how I want my screens to be or something, and then we can actually
yes,
do
yeah, in
then
that case
happen?
you go and set this up in your display profile. That's your display profile, like what you want to see is your display profile.
Yeah, no. I mean because when we do, I don't think we are covering everything with this one. You're going to come back to all this, right? Or you're saying this is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we will cover?
definitely. No. We'll be setting up a profile. So, like as a manager, as an employee, we'll be setting up profiles,
Yeah.
and then uh, you will be able to, uh, maybe relate to it.
Okay.
Okay. Take care. Happy weekend.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.